All right. We are moving into genetics, which mitosis, meiosis was the beginning of genetics. We're moving a little further into it now. For number 1 is straight vocabulary. It's on your vocabulary list for the week. It is a word that you will have on your attendance quizzes this week. Hi, Desiree. Hi, Arlette. So what is a trait? Who looked it up? Or who can look it up fast enough to type it in the chat? Good, Angelina, a characteristic. That's it. Most of the time when we talk about traits, we're talking about physical characteristics, but there are some personality traits and even disorders that can be considered traits. So next, number 2, and this one's going to be individual because everybody inherits something different. What are some traits or one trait that you got from your parents or even your grandparents? What do you guys think? Do people tell you, oh, you look so much like your mom or so much like your dad? And then why? ADHD, hair type, eye color. Who'd you get those from, Desiree? Your mom, your dad? Your grandparents? Good, so Desiree went with hair type and eye color and ADHD. What about other people? What did you guys get from your parents? Looks, Naved, who do you look like? Your mom, your dad? Apparently your dad. Okay, do you have the same like facial structure or nose or eyes? What is it? Do you know? They just tell you that you look like him? Okay. Do you not think that you look like him? People tell me I look like my mom, and my mom and I don't think we look alike. But people say my daughter looks like me. You never seen him, that's why. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. All right. I have a poll for this next question. Let's take a vote. Viviana, you look like your dad, makes you feel like my stepdaughter looks a lot like my husband, and she says the same thing. But you don't. I'm sure you don't. For number 3, if you cross these 2 flowers, what color do you think the offspring will be? Do you think they're going to be purple like parent one? Do you think they're going to be white like parent 2? Or do you think they're going to be a light purple, pinkish mix of both parents? There's no wrong answer to this. You're just guessing. If you had to guess. White, regular purple, or light purple, pinkish? All right, give me about 5 more seconds. All right, so this is what everybody thinks. 4 of you think they're going to be purple like parent 1, and 11 of you think they're going to be a mix of both parents. You will find out the answer in a few minutes as we go through our notes. All right, essential question. How are traits passed through generations? Our key concept, genetics, is the study of inheritance patterns between generations. So in biology, you have different fields of study. You have cell biology, we went through in chapter 3. You have genetics, you have ecology, you have evolution, you have anatomy. And this is the chapter about genetics. And that guy is an Austrian monk named Gregor Mendel. He is known as the father of genetics. Before Gregor Mendel, people thought that traits were blended, and there are some traits that are blended. Skin color. Everybody knows a black person and a white person have a baby, that's their skin color is in between. That is a blended trait. However, Gregor Mendel didn't study blended traits. He studied traits that were either or. So before Gregor Mendel, people thought that all traits were blended. Some of them are, but some of them were not. That's okay, Jacob, you're good. Mendel's discoveries. So he discovered traits are characteristics that are passed from parent to offspring, and he focused on traits that are inherited as distinct, isolated units. You either have one thing or you have the other. And there's a lot of these traits that we have that we're going to talk about. And this whole chapter is on, they're called Mendelian traits, where you have the one or other situation. His experiments were on pea plants. Peas are the tiny little green vegetables. If you've never had peas before, they're He experimented on pea plants because it was easy to breed them and easy to see their physical traits. The mating of two organisms is called a cross, as in you are crossing their genes. So he would take pea plants and breed them, cross their genes. And he would see what he would come up with. He did something called a test cross. He crossed a plant with only purple flowers and a plant with only white flowers. And the four of you that said he got all purple flowers are correct. Maybe you looked ahead. Maybe you already knew the answer. But he crossed the purple flowers with the white flowers, and that their offspring, that next generation, only had purple flowers. So these plants, like I said, they're an either or situation. Either the flowers are going to end up purple or they're going to end up white. There is no mixing or in between with these plants. Yep, Angelina, purple is the dominant trait. We will get into dominant and recessive next week in 6.4. And when we start out in biology, we talk about these traits being either or. They're easier to picture. Once you start getting into the blended traits, it starts getting a little harder. But you guys are all taking biology for the first time. Most of you are taking biology for the first time in your life. So we concentrate on that either or situation so that you can build on that knowledge and learn more later. Mendel's laws, he did so many experiments and was a huge influence on how scientists viewed genetics. He got to make laws. Not everybody gets to make laws. Einstein made some laws. Isaac Newton made some laws. Gregor Mendel made some laws. Well, two of his laws are called the law of segregation and the law of independent assortment. And both of those have to do with meiosis and the making of gametes, which is why we talked about meiosis last week. his law of segregation. First, you have to know the vocabulary word allele. Allele is an alternate form of a gene. So if you think of eye color, some people have blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes, hazel eyes. There's different eye colors. But the fact that you have a gene for your eye color, that is the gene. And the different forms of that gene are called alleles. So this law states that the two alleles for each trait segregate or separate during the formation of gametes. That process is called meiosis. We studied it last week. And that during the formation of new zygotes, the alleles will combine at random with other alleles. So a zygote is a baby that's only a couple days old. So when the sperm and the egg first come together and the sperm fertilizes the egg, what comes out is a zygote. Then it grows a little bit, you call it an embryo. Then it grows for 9 months, you call it a child. So during the formation of new zygotes, when the sperm and the egg come together, when they first come together, the alleles will combine at random with other alleles. So we learned in meiosis last week that you end up with 4 gametes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So gamete number 4 from mom could get together with gamete number 2 from dad and combine randomly. It's always random which alleles are going to get picked from mom and dad. And then Mendel's law of independent assortment states that the alleles of 2 or more different genes get sorted into gametes independently of one another. So this means that just because a guy has big feet doesn't also mean he will have big hands. Our traits get separated into our gametes very, very randomly. And then the gamete that actually gets fertilized is also very random.